Good morning, everyone. I think we should be live, as far as I can tell. Let's see. Yep. Great. Fantastic. And let me just grab the chat. Let's bring up Visual Studios. And yeah, we can get into this. So, I should actually alert everyone while I'm getting the chat open. Yes, as the title suggests, we are beginning a new chapter on game development. We are trying to delete entities. This has been a continuous... this is kind of like part 2 of what we've been doing recently. With part 2 at least. This is like the second half of things. There's a lot of details when it comes to deleting something from a scene. All right, chat is there, and let me start my little timer for game dev, and we should be good. Okay. Anyway, okay, so deleting entities from a game engine is a little trickier than you would imagine. This is something that I think artists and people who use game engines won't appreciate how annoying this is. But I'll explain the problem, right? The basic problem, it all comes down to this one thing in Vulkan. And it's pretty fundamental. If you are learning Vulkan for the first time and you've just started, you go into a tutorial and you'll eventually code something called frames in flight. And this is where things get tricky. This has consequences for the whole game engine. It doesn't matter how small or big it is. Like, this makes things more difficult. Okay? So, what is a frame in flight? It effectively allows the GPU and the CPU to work separately from each other. So the CPU works one frame ahead in my engine, and the GPU renders the previous frame. Instead of us waiting for the GPU to finish rendering, we continue on processing what we want to do for the next frame ahead of time. And we end up kind of like we have some parallelism there. It's not quite like multi-threading. We just allow these two different processes to work independently from each other. The problem with that is communication between the CPU and the GPU get a little more complicated, and this has consequences for deleting something from the scene, more than you would imagine. Jump scare. Hello, Shadow. How you doing, dude? So let's just say that I'm just explaining how frames in flight affects deleting entities and stuff like that. Yeah, appreciate that, dude. So we have frames in flight. We are deleting something. There are 3 types of buffers when it comes to Vulkan that you need to worry about, and I'm talking about the updates, how you update things, right? Updating things, you have 3 different types of buffers that get updated in a particular way. You have the constant buffers that kind of get uploaded once to the GPU, and these store things that we don't need to worry about. If we get a race condition, which I'll explain in a minute, we don't care about. I don't know, this could be constants, values, stuff that we're never going to worry about. If the GPU and the CPU are writing and reading from the same buffer, generally we don't have to worry about anything. So we have to worry about something called race conditions. Not quite. We're doing like you can think of what we're trying to work with here is as multi-processor things, but we're juggling not just you can think of the GPU as a separate process from the CPU. So we're trying to think about things in a CPU GPU process kind of separate way, because that's how they work. They're quite isolated from each other, despite running actually in the same process. Yes, a very, very early stream. So we have this issue. Yeah, I do remember. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I do have... So we have race condition issues when it comes to buffers. And this is something that you don't actually get with OpenGL. OpenGL, you don't actually deal with the frames in flight as much. So let's just say we have a buffer, right? And it stores the position of entities, which is what we're going to work with today. And we remove an element on the CPU side from this buffer. And now we've talked about this quite a lot, but it's important to kind of like do a recap because there is a lot more to this. We have this situation, right, where let's just say that the GPU, we're not being careful which frame in flight we're dealing with this buffer that has this position data in, and the GPU just arbitrarily deletes a position from a buffer, right? And this what can end up happening is we have a race condition where the CPU might update things in time, or the GPU might read ahead of, we don't really know who's going to read or write to the buffer at a particular time. So in that case, we've got to basically update the buffer every single time we change it. And this is a CPU GPU buffer that needs to be specifically handled. Now we're very close on this one. We're basically done, but there's a couple of things that we need to work on before we continue. Then we have the final type of buffer, the buffers that get updated every now and then, right? You can think of these buffers as like textures. Textures are very common. We upload them to the GPU, but maybe is this staging buffers? We might do that with staging buffers. So when I'm talking about a buffer, in this case, I'm just talking about a generic piece of data that sits on the CPU and a generic piece of data that sits on the GPU, right? So there's no specific type of thing, but I am talking about, in this case, textures, because textures are a type of data which we can just call a generic buffer in this case, that gets uploaded to the GPU and updated not very often, right? We don't want to, if you're doing this in your Vulkan renderer, you're doing something wrong if you're constantly updating the textures every single frame. What you want to do is update the textures that you're going to use, and then go ahead. Now I'm doing something, and leave them alone. I'm doing something called bindless rendering, which means we have textures in basically an array. So we have it's more similar with bindless textures to binding a big shader storage buffer object, if you're familiar with that, and if you're not, that's just an array. That sits on the GPU that contains texture data. Now, like I said, we don't update textures all the time. We need to have a system in place that, let's just say we delete all the entities in the scene that has a particular texture. We need to also remove that texture from this bindless array thing, right? And this is something that we don't need to do every single frame, but we need to make sure that we're not having a race condition as when we delete a texture from this array. So we need to have a system basically where we load in the textures that need to be deleted. We need to say at the end of the frame, when you're finished, then we can delete the actual texture. Now this is important because you may think, okay, why do we need to worry about deleting textures in this way? Well, you've got to think about, well, if we have like, I don't know, let's just say you have, I don't know, a level, right? You can think of something like really simple like Crash, right? I think people are familiar with Crash, or some kind of thing where you have like very separate levels. Now, it wouldn't be a very good idea if we had a system where we didn't ever delete textures. We could just leave them on the GPU. But let's just say we move from one level to another, and I don't know, it's now, we've gone from a jungle area like in Crash, like an early level, to an ice level. If we kept all the jungle textures in memory, we'd end up being very slow. We would end up running out of memory very quickly. And if we didn't then delete the textures again, we would end up with just basically a memory leak that gets worse over time. So we need a system that deletes entities, that also works out when the textures don't exist anymore, and then we need to delete the textures, and other types of resources that are tied to that particular entity when they're deleted. So yeah, we could say Spyro. What I'm just trying to visualize like this idea of having like a texture that needs to be in a level and then removed at a particular point. because text, yeah, at the end of the frame, right? So mine isn't going to be necessarily a very hard cut off. We do the texture unloading in one go. We do the texture loading in one go at the end of the go. We could, like, let's just say you delete all the enemies in a level, and I don't know. I know for a fact that all the enemies that you've killed have been removed from the game. Then I can delete those textures while you're in the level. It doesn't necessarily have to be at a particular point, like a hard boundary. But what I'm trying to say is sometimes there is a point in games where you have this point where you go, okay, the player has moved far enough away. They've gone through the fog door, fog gate, or whatever. They've moved far enough into another area that it would take them a long time to go back. So we can delete all the lava textures from Elden Ring, right? Because they're in some other place that's completely far away from that. We don't have to have that in memory anymore. We can remove that completely. Like there's not even like LOD, like they can't see it. They're in a castle, right? Something like that, right? So that's the idea, right? So we need to be careful with deleting, and also this affects adding things to the scene. We've got to have the same ideas where we balance the creation and deletion of resources in a particular way. That if I want to add a new entity to the scene, I've also got to add them in the way that happens at the end of the frame for things that get updated infrequently. I've got to make sure that when I'm doing things, if we have a buffer that's updated constantly, then we've got to have 2 buffers or X amount of buffers depending on your frames, and X would be the frames in flight. And for constant buffers, again, we don't really have to worry about those, but we do have to be careful that we don't accidentally start mixing them up. So now we have to worry about CPU and GPU coordination, and the way I've done my entities is pretty difficult. I've used a lot of arrays, and we have entities that go into those arrays, and we're not quite there with deleting things in the buffer that constantly gets updated. We're going to have to implement, like I said, bindless textures getting removed for loading different maps, for example, and things like that. So I think this is going to be a bit of a longer, that's why I've done part 1, so I'm not exactly sure how long this is going to go on for. That is the plan of attack. Hopefully that explains kind of what we're talking about. If you weren't here for the beginning of the stream, you know, just to recap, just to blast through the beginning part, because I'm not sure everyone was here, but, you know, constant buffers we don't have to worry about. We have multiple buffers that update every single frame, that we need at least 2, or sorry, X amount of 4, you know, for the total frames in flight. These need to be updated at the right time so we don't get a race condition. This is all to avoid racing conditions as well, just so you know. And things that get updated every now and again need to be handled and updated at the end of the frame in a queue, like data structure, which I've already set up, so it's not going to be too difficult. But we've got to do that for our bindless textures. So yeah, that's the general speed run. This is definitely not part 1 exactly. This is, I also said at the beginning of the stream, this is this is not also part 1. This is like we worked on the what is it called? The drawing aspects of this, where my drawing commands were completely busted up. So yes, this is like part 2 of this whole deleting and adding things to the scene. But this is going to be like a more focused, like deliberate. We're going to be pretty much exclusively locked in on handling data on the CPU and the GPU side. So yeah. Also, just final thing before we get into things. I I went out with a friend, and I ended up getting completely like I don't drink at all. So when I drink, I get like very hungover very quickly, and I kind of let myself off the hook yesterday, and I only worked for about 4 minutes, which was bad. So I might talk about this on stream. I don't know, but because of that, I feel almost a little rusty, because I like air quotes took a day off, even though the day before that I did like 5 hours, right? So I'm a little bit. It might take me a little bit to kind of like remember what I was doing, but it's kind of a tricky thing, because in my I really do believe this. I think if you're trying to create something, you can't allow yourself to, which maybe I'll talk about this, I don't know, but at the very surface level, if you're trying to create something and you're trying to be creative, in any way, it doesn't necessarily have to be game development. From my experience at least, and from finding other people and talking to them as well, like, you can't believe your own mind when it tells you to take a break. Like, what I mean is, like, oh, I feel kind of bad today. This is the example where I was like, because I was kind of hungover, I was kind of feeling a bit iffy. I was like, you know what, I don't feel very good. I'm just gonna not do anything. You've got to still create and push yourself, even when you don't want to. If you plan to release something that's creative, that's like bigger, right? In theory, you could just paint when you want to as a hobby, but if you're taking it seriously, which is a big difference, you have to attack and fight for your time and keep pushing yourself, which is very antithetical to like what the general culture is right now, where working 5 days a week, trying to do as minimum amount of work as possible, and it's all that kind of stuff. I understand that there's a difference between hard work that's worthwhile and toil, so totally get that, right? I'm not going to say that you should be working super hard at McDonald's. That's completely different, right? But if you're trying to make something, like, you have to you can't go easy on yourself, and I kind of did that yesterday, so it's kind of a big but I don't know if we will talk about this specifically, but anyway, that's the preamble. Yeah, Burger Maxing. You gotta fry as fast as possible. You got a hustle bro culture, and yeah, the reason it's a bit complicated to talk about this as well is because a lot of people, people generally don't get it, and two, a lot of people aren't creative, and that's kind of like a can of worms I may go into at some point. But generally speaking, if you say, like, I need to work every day on this project, a lot of people would be like, no, you don't. You can take some days off. It's fine. But they just generally do not understand. Anyway, so let's actually get into the coding, and maybe I'll talk about that, because it's a bit more. It takes longer to explain. It's a little bit more. It has more hot takes to it, if that makes sense, right? It's a bit more. I don't know how to explain it, but people can get a bit defensive when you talk about this kind of stuff. But I know you guys are cool, and I'm a small streamer, so there's not like the chance that I'm going to be taken out of context and a bunch of people playing devil's advocate for no reason. Anyway, so yeah, so let's try and figure out exactly what I was doing before we stopped. Before I took my air quoted day off, which is kind of like what I call a crash out, when I completely failed to do anything. When I crashed out, didn't do anything. So, all right. So this is where we're up to. Yeah, so I don't exactly remember why, but for some reason, yeah, that's the problem. Also, I've been working on Linux, side thing, off stream. I'll just mention this quickly. I had to reinstall my Linux distro again. I completely broke it. I uninstalled one library that's completely wiped out all the graphics. But what I'm trying to do with this version is try to get my game running without Vulkan tools installed, because that's going to be the generic installation for anyone who has Linux. They're not going to have Vulkan tools, the library, installed, meaning that I need to make sure that I can run my game engine without Vulkan tools installed. And the problem is right now, the way I've set things up is Vulkan, for some reason, my game engine can't create the instance yet. So at the moment, on Linux anyway, after reinstalling my operating system for the third time, we are failing to install our instance, which is good because like that's a bug that I need to work out for anyone who has Linux, because if I have Vulkan tools installed, I won't see this issue. So I'm glad that you've got that. So that's something I need to work on. So Mado has said, but you can beat yourself up from one time. But you can't beat yourself up from one time. You just have to know you have to fight yourself. That is just sorry. You just have to know and fight yourself. That is just one time thing. Not small to us, especially me. You inspired me to start and keep going. Yeah, 100%. It's not the fact that I took a day off. It's the fact I gave myself an excuse not to work when I could have. That's the toxic side of things that can spiral into one day, a week, a month, a year of not doing anything. Just waiting around, waiting for inspiration and motivation type stuff. Because this kind of, okay, I'll dive into this. Hope you guys don't mind. This is going to be a bit of a longer stream anyway, so that's why I thought I would kind of talk about this as well. I hope you guys don't mind me talking about like being creative and stuff. You need the Vulkan loader on any Linux distribution. The Vulkan loader. I have the Vulkan shared library, so it can link to that because I built with it. The LD library path gets appended to it because I do what I've done is I've done a fork and a fork and execute process thing where I set up the environment with a separate program, kind of like how you would pipe things together. But the Vulkan loader itself, I haven't. All I did this was 2 days ago, by the way. I got it to that point where we could actually launch the application, but yeah, I need to figure out this how to actually get the shared library or whatever actually is needed. Yeah, so I basically need to figure. There are links to Vulkan lib1 or whatever. Anyway, yeah, so I'll end up fixing that. Maybe we'll have a Linux stream and we dive into it a bit more and we can actually tackle it. But yeah, it's generally speaking, I don't know how long I'll go into this, but most people on this planet, this is going to sound kind of controversial, but it's a bit of a hot take, so bear with me and I'll explain. Most people aren't creative. It sounds mean, because I was talking to someone like a programmer, right? My friend who he's doing really well in life. He's actually getting very rich, and he's traveling around the world, basically living the technology nomad lifestyle, right? And I'm sitting here trying to make a video game with a YouTube channel. We're similar age. He's I won't say how much he's on, but he's on a decent wage. In the UK, it's like we have because of our currencies kind of. So if you're on 100k in the UK, it's actually better than being 100k in the US. So he's actually like at that level where he's making around that, like he's making like a lot of like a good amount of money. There is a drive though in me for to create something that I think actually it's quite funny. The more creative you are as well. This is important. This is another background piece of information. So people aren't creative, and in general. The second thing is your life outlook. The more creative you are, the less successful you are in general. It's kind of funny. Like there's like, if you're more intelligent, generally you're more successful. If you're more hardworking, you're generally more successful when it comes to the big 5-factor personality model. But when you're more creative, Like, generally speaking, the more creative you get, the less successful in the traditional terms that you end up being. It's because you have this like drive, right, to create something, which means that you end up doing things that aren't necessarily like financially the most lucrative. Like, I could be doing what my friend is doing, right? I could be working at this, like working at X company, making a decent amount of money, stacking money in the bank, and yet I'm sitting here, you know, trying to make a video game instead, right? It's very different, right? And here's the thing: it's like you can't just do what other people do when you're doing this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, like, yeah, Vincent van Gogh. Yeah, exactly. So it's a thing. It's a thing that people say all the time. It's like, oh, you're very creative. It's like generally people aren't creative. So I have to do this. That's why I feel like it's like I have to express myself through code. It's kind of a strange way of putting it, but that's why I can't use a game. I don't want to use a game engine for like a creative reason as well on top of things. And so when it comes to being a creative in any field, the first general, again, hot take number 2, the first thing that you really have to do is become absolutely cracked. It's very, very difficult to make any money in this field, in any creative field. That's not just, I just mean the creative field in general. You have to get very, very good, which means that you have to be different from other people. You can't do what other people are doing. You can't have a long work-life balance, 5 days a week. I worked for 4 hours at my company, then I kind of went on YouTube for a bit. I use ChatGPT to generate the emails, and you know, that kind of like general. I'm not saying that's bad, by the way. That's just like what generally people do, right? You know, it makes sense for someone to maximize the amount of life they have, you know, and offset that based on the amount of work. But when you're a creative type, work is intrinsic to who you are, and your work is typically a creative pursuit or whatever. So you can't be, you have to do things differently. And so when I said like it was a failure on my behalf to let myself off the hook for that one day based on I didn't feel like that good or whatever, is a toxic, like it will end up being like the end of, it can end up being like, you know, if I take 6 months off, for example, I could completely lose everything when it comes to you know, the momentum that I've built and all that kind of stuff. So, and getting good. That's why it's like it's kind of tricky. Hopefully, I kind of went around the point there, but hopefully people are picking up what I'm saying there. Yeah. Yeah, people can. Yeah, everyone can be creative, but not everyone has the drive in them that if they don't create, it hollows them out. Like, I've tried to just kind of be a generic programmer where you don't end up, you know, pursuing, like, for example, going to defense and like working on defense industry stuff, or going into quant and doing quant, right? That would be the most successful move on my behalf. Like, it would be move to London and become a quant developer. I'm good enough at C++ that I could do that, but that would be torture at the end of the day, because it would take up all my time and I wouldn't be able to do the creative side of things. And here's the thing: I'm not even successful in this, so it's like I'm making bad decisions in general when it comes to like my life as a whole. I'm working harder than typically most people do, and because I'm pursuing this thing that it's difficult to succeed in. People see like successful artists and stuff, and they go, "Oh, okay, yeah, this is the." But there's like it's almost like it's like 1 to 100, right? There's like for every one successful person who's like a painter or something, there's like 100 that are unsuccessful. Like, it's a really bad. it's something you should pursue, in my opinion. Only if you feel like you have to. And I honestly feel that way. So yeah, I hope I didn't sound too pretentious there, but it's a tricky one to explain, because a lot of people who, like I said earlier, people aren't creative, so most people don't have that drive in them to need to create. and they don't get it. Like, you know, you'll get comments like, I've had a comment. I'm not going to call anyone out. Like, just use AI, right? Just use AI. It's like, well, this comes from a point of view that if you maximize the amount of time you put in, you get the product that comes out. Like, there's no like, the craft of the actual making of the thing is like completely lost because they don't care. As long as we have like a nice product that comes out at the end that makes money, cool, right? Move on to the next thing. But like that expression of like trying to express yourself doesn't compute for a lot of people. It sounds like kind of weird. Anyway, so that it's kind of a tricky subject to explain, but when people get it, like can I show you guys a video? Like this video, it's like a minute long. I'm gonna have to go through my liked videos. It's pretty buried. And it's like it's a video about animation, and this person just got it. Like when they made this video, they were like, "Oh yeah, okay." I think it's near the bottom, so I'm gonna kind of work my way up. So start from the bottom. It's literally a minute. It's going to take me longer to find it than it is to play it. So I'll go through chat and read everyone's response, because I know this is like it sparks some. Where is it? It was back in. Oh, maybe I didn't like the video. I'll have to just Google it, and I'll dig it up because it is important. Well, no, I think it's okay. It was the animation dark. It was when the Dark Age meme was like really popular. Oops. Okay, so this is the one I don't want to show you. I want to show the other one, which is this one. Yeah. Whoa. Okay, so this is the idea of like the journey to me. Okay, so let's read some of the chat before we get into this, right? Because this is like generally the ethos that I live. Well, I try to at least. Okay, so Mado has said, "I'll wait, not. Will not allow you. Then from now on, not to stream for a day. If you see some successful artist, you automatically think he is talented, so it's easy for them. Yeah, that's true. That can be very much true. But in fact, the drive to create, use their talent is hard work. Well, you don't have to worry about me not holding myself accountable. I'll just again, just a side tangent. Go on to this. Okay, so I've been writing down how long I've been programming every day for over a year. This is keeping me accountable, and every time I don't do very well, this average goes down, and I'm trying to fight to keep this average up. So there is that. Anyway, a lot of the pro AI people don't like doing work. Yes, I agree. That will be added. That is going to be because it's here. I haven't added it yet, but it will be added. It's right. It'll be right at the bottom. So that's going to sink the average. So a lot of AI people don't like the work, but I do love putting in the effort. Yeah, exactly. I can completely relate to that, Ratchet. And Amado has also said, I automatically think if you had their talent, I would be much more. And once you get that talent, you do nothing. Yeah, exactly. You can. Yeah, most people using AI don't know the work that will need to be done, or they don't. Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's a lot of people. A lot of people just don't get it, right? The journey the journey to me is more important than the destination. Exactly. I feel you on that one. So the way I'm trying to express myself to my potential audience, maybe you guys, I don't know if you're interested in anything I end up actually putting out there, is very like, I want to make the software. I know it's almost hidden. You won't ever see it except if you go on GitHub. But I want to make the software good as well as the game. That's very important to me. Like, I want to express myself through my engineering ability. So, okay, so I'm going to pull up this video, and I think this is about animation. And when I watched this video for the first time, it was they get it, right? They get it. The person who made this video, they understand what it means. So I hope you guys can bear with me. It's a bit and then we'll get back to coding. Again, I've paused my timer here, so I'm not actually timing myself. So hopefully, guys, you can hear it. Let me know if the levels are any good.
There's a Rembrandt there that he did when he was first bankrupt. That's one of the greatest things I've ever seen. He didn't do it for money. He just wanted to do it.
What's driving you to produce this masterpiece?
Quest for excellence.
Yeah, so hopefully that wasn't too loud or too quiet and didn't deafen you, or you could hear it. But that is like, why make something that matters, you know? Like, it literally gets me emotional when I watch that video. Like, why put in the effort? Like, that video gets it. Like, you can make some animation that would just make kind of make money, but like, people put in the effort to make something that matters. So the way I go about it, I'm trying to get there, you know, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, and appreciate you guys watching that and listening to you know, the important side of creating. But that also means you've got to be really hard on yourself. So, you know, there is that. Anyway, I'll read the chat and we'll honestly get back into getting to programming. So look at Steam games. It is loaded of skins of successful proven games. No talent, nothing innovative, nothing creative, just pure garbage. The old Blizzard titles were spot on. Piece of art, Diablo 2, early World of Warcraft, StarCraft. These games were flawless. Exactly, like there is like you could say that a lot about a lot of different companies out there, that they were making something that mattered, right? It was beyond just making money, and people don't get that, because a lot of people I talk about this about, or I try to communicate this idea with, aren't creative, so they don't understand the idea of making something that matters outside of making something that's successful, right? Something that matters is more important to me than something that makes money. Anyway, so yes, part of streaming is to keep me accountable to work. So let's dive into this. So yeah, and gotta breathe. Gotta get back into engineering rather than talking about you know, art and stuff, all that artsy fartsy cringe art stuff. Oh my god. Right, okay, so let's just see where we're up to. Again. Yeah. I can link that video as well so you can watch, anyone can watch that. It's I'll put it in the Discord actually. I'll put it in resources later. So you can watch it in your own time. But yeah, I'm glad we have a community where people can appreciate the craft as well as the product. Yeah, we open the streams of procrastinate together. The problem is if I end up getting like this on some, like sometimes I watch Tokyo Spliff for a bit and I'm like, oh man, I can't watch this. I've got a code. So there's that. So yeah, I'm trying to delete all the docs right here and we end up with this crash. So I think the first thing I'm going to do just to get back into the swing of things is actually working through the deleting. So if I press delete and then close, yeah. So I want to solve this problem first. So my motivation is the Stardew Valley dev story. Like 5 years, I think he wrote the game and he made it. Yeah, huge inspiration is. Oh my goodness, yeah. I love that guy. After hearing his story, I actually downloaded the game. I don't even play this type of games. I was just so hyped behind it. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, that kind of stuff. Like he made something that mattered. Like he had his personal, because I believe anyone in this chat has a personal vision like that. If you were wanting, that's why I try to be positive and be encouraging. I'm trying to support anyone down, even if they come up with some crazy crazy thing and they're like, okay, this might not ever work. Let's just say you want to make an MMORPG where your choices matter, right? Even in that situation, I'm like, there's a chance that they could actually pull it off. They could be that Stardew Valley dev. So I always want you guys to succeed and do well, despite the circumstances and despite the low chance of success. I know it's kind of harsh to say that, but I'm also aware of that for my own self. Like I think anyone can do it, but it's also very, very hard to do. And I really hope that you guys do it. I honestly, my dream would actually to be successful in art when it comes to creating games. And all my community members that want to do the same thing, they are all more successful than me. So anyone in chat who's trying to create something, that's my dream, right? I would love it if you guys were like all more successful than me when it comes to making meaning and making something that's meaningful. Not necessarily, I'm not really talking about financial success, although that would be good. What I'm talking about is being fulfilled and making something that mattered. I would love it if you guys were to, if I was to be the most unsuccessful in that in that regard, while also being a success, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. Do it, dude. Honestly, yeah. I don't know much about cakes, but yeah, honestly, I hope anyone, literally, like, if you're going to make something that matters, I really, 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 really want to see it, and I will love to check it out. It'll be like one of my happiest moments will be checking out something, if anyone ends up making something that matters, like truly matters, we'll be buying that product or finding it out or whatever it is, and actually playing it. That'd be honestly like top tier moment in life, right? So okay, so yeah, I'm still emotional from that vid, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, so let's try and delete something. Let's figure out how to delete stuff. So yeah, he reached the point. He reaches low point. He reached a point by 2 months. Wow, yeah, that's what. Yeah, I'm also being irresponsible in the same way. I know it seems kind of strange, but I could get a job in the defense industry quite easily because they're hiring right now. But yet I'm choosing to do this over that because in my life I want to at least try to make something that matters. because that's more important than me than you probably guys already know now, but it's like that's more important to me than even if I fail, at least I can say I tried. You know, if I become completely destitute like Cakes seems to almost have done and actually fail, you know, at least I can say like, you know, the point of me being on this planet was like to try and do this, and even though I failed, like that's gonna be more worthwhile to me than not succeeding at all, not trying at all. Sorry, and being rich and well off. Yeah, my vision is making my first person horror survival game that will be visually appealing with nice cloth and material physics. That's my dream, bro. I love it. Yeah, Toby, go for it. Honestly, I would love to see you release that. Wow, he made 400,000 in the first week. Yeah, I need to look into it. I don't know much about this Cake story, but thank you for bringing it up. Honestly, I love those stories. Yeah, I'll check him out. I'm just completely unfamiliar with him. I don't even know what game it is. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Honestly, it's because he sounds like he's also made something that matters. It's a big deal when that happens. But yeah, I'm glad I've got a community like that, and I really hope, like I said, that you all succeed in various ways. And if I have to be the flag bearer in that, I will. I almost don't want to bear that flag. I would love you guys to bear that flag, but if I'm bearing the flag of that, then I will. Right. So what ends up happening when we delete stuff? Yeah, let's stop. Yeah, exactly. Let's go back into this. But yeah, that's how I wanted to talk about it on stream rather than Discord, because it's a bit of a meaty topic that requires a bit more explaining. So when I delete something, where's actually it all going wrong? So yeah, no game was ever made on Yap. So we're trying to free the VMA allocator, and we have something that's not freed. And okay, so we've got to check if this happens when we close something. Okay, good. That's actually good. So there is some kind of buffer that we're not deleting, and I believe it's probably the positional buffer, because we move stuff around. Let me look at my scene. Using speech to text. Okay, that's a very point. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, but I'll give everyone that. What is it? This you can just Google it if you want. But the Quest for Excellence animation, because it looks like we're all kind of on that same path. But anyway, so the scene. Entities. But yeah, before we can even make anything, we've got to get correct. That's the first step. Step 1. Do what almost no one's capable of doing. Get extremely good. Okay, so let's just see. Go through my entities. I have... Okay, so we create arrays here. Do we delete these properly? I think we do. Okay, so let's just make sure that... Okay, so I don't think entity data has anything in. Yes, okay, so we shut down the models, I think. So that should be going through all this. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I think the simplest solution for me, honestly, is to kind of like comment everything out and kind of bring it all back in to figure out exactly what I'm missing. Because unfortunately the error message is, you tried to release the VMA. There is something on the VMA allocator still. Something, it doesn't tell me what it is, and it's inside a library, so it's not like I can exactly figure out what it is. And this is the problem with not keeping up with what you're doing. So what I'm going to do first is just do the obvious and just delete the actual while loop. And then If it still crashes, then it's nothing to do with anything in here, which I don't think it is. That's just going to rule out the obvious. Is a validation layer active? I think it is. I can check. Okay, so I think... Why are you crashing? Right, okay, so I think, as far as I can tell, let's go back. Delete texture instance. When was that called? Ah, that's unfortunate. Okay, so I want to see this. But we're crashing too early, so I'm going to have to leave the fully bin. So yeah, let's check the validation layers are on. I think they are. Yes, so both are. Actually, I get that error message at the warning at the beginning saying that you've got both synchronization and debug on, which is slow. So yes. Oh, name. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. VMA has a set name, so let's throw that in, because that's just going to be good in general, right? So VMA set allocation name, that needs to be done in the buffers. So when I create the buffer, so yeah, let's do that. Thank you for that, Wretched. Actually, always appreciate you being here, helping me out. Okay, so. So let's look up how to use this function. VMA set allocation name. Okay, why are we here again? Oh, okay, so this is the. Okay, so you can annotate allocations from your for debugging purpose. To do that, you fill up the puser data field. It is a void, opaque void pointer. Okay. Handles index keys and anything like that. Okay. Okay, so what does it want me to do? Metadata. Okay, but I just want the name. Is there an easier way to just do this? Okay, here we go. Okay. An allocation can also carry a null terminate string. Blah blah blah, and I set this to the allocation. Okay, so we have allocator, allocator, allocation, and image name. Okay, so the library creates an internal copy of the string to a pointer. Okay, that seems pretty straightforward. So allocation is probably the buffer. We'll figure this out. So there's 3 arguments. We have so the allocation and the allocator. Okay, so let's try and throw that in. So when we do this, we have a VMA set name. Let's copy. Yeah. Yeah, large ratchet model. Yeah, yeah, that's it. Yeah, can I take you with me? That's the only thing. I need to be streaming non-stop. I need to kidnap Ratchet and make sure we can So I believe I can have him in my basement. Doing stuff for me, so it looks like we can just say name. I think we already have the name in here, which is nice. So null terminated string. Okay. Why don't you set yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah, that's a. I kind of just saw those functions together. Whoa. Come back. Yeah, very good point. And kind of rolled them together. Right. Yeah, I definitely need to kidnap. Step 1 of becoming I've cracked at game dev. Kidnap Ratchet, put him in the basement. Okay, so do we have right, so that is horrible to read. So is empty. Some allocations is not freed or destroyed. Okay, so it doesn't tell me anything. Huh. So it looks like it wants in this metadata. Let's try set up this metadata thing, because I think that was in the documentation. Where was it? If I go back. So it sets up the... I believe it sets up the... Right, what I'm going to try is just to put a null terminated string in p user info. And that is going to be in VMA allocation create info. I think it's here. And just see if it's able to pull out. Yeah, okay, so we'll see if this even works. Right. So what I'm going to do is just see, one, is this even compilable? So how do we do this? Cannot assign, yes. Do I have to cast this to a void star and kind of just let it rip? Alright, so again, I'm just going to be... So if the p metadata structure is empty, I think that's what we need to do. This could be a complete botch. Okay, so... Oh no, okay, so that didn't... What do I need to do? Some allocations were not freed. And this memory block. Maybe there's something else. Okay, so maybe it's not actually... This is only for... Okay, I'm being stupid. As usual. I think... Right. This is a bineless buffer. I've only done it for non-bineless buffers and I barely use them. Okay, so let's put it here. Okay. Okay, that'll do it. You could just hire me into your indie game company. In your case, that yeah, you can join me in my kitchen. Nope. Dude, you just used the function not... Yeah. Okay, so it's not that. So that's the binary buffer. Maybe there's a texture then. Interesting. Okay. We've done it for the texture. Where's the textures? Create texture. I think it's create Vulkan texture. Let's see. So where's the actual VMA done? Okay, so it's here. And when we do this, we put this here, and we want the actual... okay, no, a bit further down. So yeah, let's keep putting this in different places and just see what comes up. So we've done the allocation. Now we need the allocator. Staging allocator. Sorry, allocation, which I believe is what needs there. Okay. And now I've just got to check for the actual... okay, that's a bit clumsy, but... Yeah, okay, so we do a transfer. Where's the... Okay, right. So we'll do that. I'd rather work from remote. Yeah, I'm not against hiring people, by the way. That's something I might end up doing in the future. But but I'm pretty. I've got to be very careful with my money. That's all right now. Retry. What did we get? Yeah, because early on when I was like really excited about game development, I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I had my own, like a group of cool guys that wanted to work together and on this like one big project. I didn't even care if I was like in charge of it. I just wanted to like work with other cool creative types, engineers, and make something awesome. But at the moment, you know, I can do a lot of what I'm doing on my own. I just need to get better as a programmer. Not that I'm, like I said, not against the idea. Yeah, I think if I was to hire people right now, I'd have to get another job and kind of pay people out of my wage. Yeah, because for those who to lift the curtain behind YouTube right now, it's YouTube doesn't make any money. Like I don't even have the channel monetized really. I just have enough to have the enough stats to have the what is it called, the donation button activated. YouTube was like, okay, you have enough subscribers and watch time to have that, but not anything else. So it's less. I think at some point in the future I will open YouTube memberships and maybe a Patreon, but yeah, we're such a small YouTube channel at the moment. It's kind of difficult to think about that kind of stuff, and I don't want to, like, it's kind of tricky. It's kind of like a thing I have to think about, but I don't want to go into the monetization. But just to tell you that, yeah, to lift the curtain behind the scenes a bit, yeah, I don't have this YouTube channel fully monetized because it's not big enough according to YouTube stats. So that's enough. Okay, so what else do we have? We have the bindless textures. I think we don't have. Okay, so yeah, this is the thing we don't have as well. We need this in here. That's what I was looking for. So that's the staging. One done. Yeah, because this is slightly different. Where's the allocator? Here. When we actually do the allocation. Okay, yeah. That's the info. Ah, there it is. Uh-huh. You'll wait in Discord, you can hire me for free. You're worthy. I appreciate that, dude. I'll never hire except when it's artists, like textures and artists and concepts on game design, but never coding, mate. I'm not good at with working with others. I just have a lot of ideas and ambition. Yeah, go for it, dude. Yeah, it's I think, yeah, you just have to evaluate if it's worth it. I think I don't know how you would say this, but I think, in my opinion, I'm decent. Like maybe a 6 out of 10 of working with people. Like I think, because I have a feeling that I would have probably attracted literally no one to the live streams if I was like difficult to get along with. At the very least. But it's often the case that people overestimate their abilities, don't they? So maybe I'm just it's just a cope. Oh, you know what we don't have? Sorry, I realized we don't have the music. Let's get some music playing, dude. Yeah, bit of a quiet live stream. There we go. Good old. This is my favorite song from this game. Completely forgot to even turn it on after our talk about art stuff. Alright, so nothing's coming up yet, but I think it's good. It's important to do this anyway because this is actually going to be useful in the future rather than maybe necessarily right now. So yeah, let's have a look at this assert, right? And what is it trying to extract here? So when this is false, it tells us that something was there. It's not going to tell us anything about the data, I don't think, as far as I can tell. We have 6 allocation count, which I think is what we... Right, okay, so that makes sense. What I'm going to do, actually, is continue past this set, and maybe we get more info. No, I was hoping that my engine would go, you've not... Okay, let's try that again. My engine's, like, pretty annoying if you So ignore. Interesting. Okay, so it just exits 3. Wow, that's kind of annoying. Which means it exits early, so we don't actually see any of the data. That's kind of annoying. Because in my, like I said, in my engine, I list all the resources that aren't freed. But in VMA is like ending early. How do I get around that then? So I think what I'm gonna do is this is tricky. I'm gonna try the simplest thing first on the shutdown command. I'm gonna remove the shutdown of the VMA allocator itself. That's gonna add some extra noise to the output, but I think it's gonna at least give us enough information that that we'll be able to see what's not been able to be deleted. So go here. I think because we're gonna have better error checkings. I once had a group where there was a lot of different approaches. Their main boss of our group wanted us to make a 2D fishing game that we gain a lot of money through microtransaction. Yeah, that makes yeah. I'm glad you left the group, to be honest. That does not sound like a good. That's the opposite of making something meaningful, if you know what I'm saying. All right, good. Okay, so we have a resource. What was the resource listed? So the 6 indices. Yes. What were they though? You have unfreed resources. Resources were U int an unsigned int. So there's 6 things not deleted. And it's a resource pool, so something from the resource pool. So that's either a buffer, texture, or image. It's almost certainly not an image. I doubt it's a texture. So there's 6 buffers not deleted. 6 elements of a buffer not deleted, and they're allocated with the VMA allocator. So let's go through our code and reinvestigate this. Yeah, let's crash again and just see if we can actually extract some more info. If I just write the code a bit better. So do we have in this resource pool anything to do with names? Like debug names, memory, free. No, this is a lower level this is like a similar to array, but it's not quite the same. So it doesn't really have anything that's like a named resource, which is kind of unfortunate because we access things by indices rather than by name. But I'm wondering if there is some memory data structure that tells us. Hang on, let's go back. So if we go into allocator, what's in here? Please just show me. Okay, so that's just the generic allocator. I thought that would be something else actually. Never mind. Okay, so it's all just. So when we access the resource. Alright, so 6 things have been deleted. And they are part of the VMA allocator. I moved stuff into the loading code. So we have, I'm just wondering if it's these 2, positional buffer and that. Because I don't think I have a formal shutdown command for these guys. So this is something I've moved recently. And if I go into the shutdown code of scene, which is generally where everything's supposed to be shut down. Yeah, remove that, it's completely redundant. We have a models. I don't think we bother doing anything with this shutdown. Okay, so this is tricky. So I think it is these two fellas. The problem is they're not necessarily, they don't necessarily have anything in. So let's see if I, right, so the buffer handles themselves are just structs around indexes. And if I, can you do that? So what I'm going to do actually is on construction, or when we settle the model or whatever the first function is, the initialization inside model. So the first thing that you have to do, set up model. Yeah, okay. So yeah, this is the repeated code across both debug, and the problem is we have like two types of models that we're having to deal with. One is a debug model and one is a regular model. The debug one is like the spheres around the geometry, right? So so for now what I'm going to have to do is just, because I don't think we can initialize this in one go. As far as I don't think this works. If I do this, for example, like this, I don't think. Can you do it like this? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe that works. I might have to check that, because I've relied on this in the past. Well, if you get this slightly wrong, it doesn't actually. So if I do this, no. Okay, so what I'm gonna try and do it like this, because I prefer to have it set up like through the compiler generated debug default constructor. So what I'm gonna check then. So I'm not entirely sure if that's actually gonna work, and I just want to make sure that what am I doing? This works. So I'm just gonna load up a quick. Yeah, streaming early today. There we go. Good to see you, Matt. By the way, thanks for joining us. So I'm just gonna load up quickly a verification check on this. I might actually keep this around. But I'm just gonna comment this out then. Very simple. I just want to check my static C style arrays do what I want. Real quick, check 2 equals 99, and then let's just say 111. Then I'm just going to print them out and just see. Oops, that's very annoying. Okay, if it works, right? So this is just a very simple check. Just be fast. It's just not be worrying about this, because then what I can do is delete these buffers without having to you know, work out if they are I, right? Cool. So it should be 99 and 102. Yeah, okay, so that's chill. We're doing the right thing then. I'm gonna close this so I don't end up clicking on it. Cool, and then I can just delete them willy-nilly, completely chill. And we can make sure they're deleted in our shutdown model. So for each model, we want to go, okay, the first thing you want to do is if, do I want to check before or after? It's not raining, is it? No, I was checking if it's raining. Okay, so let's just do this like the safe way. Yeah, but this would make sense for the for those who don't know, when I access models, so that's the buffer handle though. We actually need to figure out when we access them, when we want to shut down a model, Where's our... Oh, I'm in scene. When we shut down our model, so GPU, what does it actually need? Destroy, I think it's just a buffer, and then say buffer handle, sorry, positional buffer 0. Does it need the buffer handle, or do we need to access the buffer? No, okay, so it just needs that. Fantastic. If, sorry, uint32. So right now, for those who've just tuned in, I'm just working on, there's a crash on close bug, and we're not cleaning up all our resources properly, and the engine is shouting at me. So I really need a more of a global frames in flight variable that I can access, because right now I'm putting 2 in too many places, I think. That might be the next thing we try and fix, because that's just going to bite us in the ass in the future. So we also need to make sure that when we free this, we don't actually free a resource that doesn't exist, because that causes an error. So if so it's equal to invalid buffer. I thought that was a struct that we could work with. Oh, there's no comparator operator? Okay. That seems a bit silly. Let's okay. Bool. Oops. Oh, sorry. Operator equals, and we need right hand side. Return if index is equal to right hand side index. Literally, it's as simple as that. And we'll do it for the rest as well. Shader state handle, sure. And I'll obviously fix the objects in a minute. But yeah, this is just a really simple operator I could just overload. Not hard at all to do. And it's really trivial, because it's just such a simple object. And that means that when I go back to here, you should now okay, so I'll give that a minute and also actually compare it like this. There we go. Fantastic. That actually works. And now we need to do I. So it's not equal. I've done an equal operator. I used to do a not equal operator. God dang it. All right, let's go back. That's funny that. Whoops. So not equal. Not equal. Okay. So let's just do this again. There we go. And not equal. Okay. Obviously we can completely compare the indices, but yeah, this is just like, I like this idea better. And there we go. Okay, done. And go back. Load. So now we have the same operator, but that one. So if they are not equal, which is what I want. And because the invalid buffer is a buffer that we're never going to have. Rigid body. Again, I think the next thing I'm going to do is just have a global accessible function that variable that has our frames in flight in it. Okay, that was kind of funny. And okay. Nice. I just saw Forsaken, aka Mado, moving a ECS C++ engine to Zig. Very nice. On the Discord server. Okay, so let's just see how that plays out. Right, so let's put a breakpoint in to make sure these actually are running. Good. And they do have indices in. Fantastic. These are 0. That's annoying. I had a feeling that wouldn't work. Ugh. The problem is invalid index is oh well. I wanted to do it a different way, but there we are. Nice, you saw my suffering. Oh yes, I've got to see his suffering. So it makes me feel better about my suffering. Like right now, I'm gonna have to write a super lazy version of what I want to do. Sorry, a slightly inefficient version, which is unfun. Just to initialize these variables to equals uint32. Oh, sorry. Invalid buffer. All right. So yeah, that's what I need to write, and I'm just gonna kind of do this here, put this here. In fact, I just need to do it like this. And in fact, I can get rid of those 2 for loops. Actually, I don't need to. I just realized I could just do this in one. Yeah, these can easily put in be 1 for loop. Just remove some of that loop overhead from the CPU. So there's less work for the CPU to do. Alright, so now, in theory, we have 2 buffers that are initialized to invalid. When I delete, cool. Yes. Okay, so that's what I want to see, just invalid index. So when I press F10, good. Right, okay, so at the very least, we are deleting these guys now. Oh, and there we go, and that was the actual issue. So we solved that. Hello, Revia. How you doing, Revia? We have just cleaned up some deleting code. We don't assert on close now, which is nice. The next thing I want to do is put our frames in flight in a very, very accessible area. I think GPU resources is very base. This has all our resources in. Const x per. Oh my goodness. Right, let's just copy and paste and ignore that. Uint 32 frames in flight. I'll stick with my capitalization too. Okay, so the first thing I need to delete is the. Thank you for not being another web dev. I would never be a web dev. Yep, C++ game engine development all the way. I wouldn't sully myself with such things as web dev. So now we can go frames in flight instead. Very nice. So we don't have this number floating around. And because it's compile time, we can actually make sure these are still static. Yeah, so for any new programmers out there, try to avoid magic numbers, but they sometimes are appropriate. It's not always necessarily a sin against God type deal. It's not a dogmatic rule, but it's a good. In this case, this is a bad idea to have a magic number, because we could change the frames in flight and everything breaks if I do that. So now we have one place to change them. Now we need it in GPU device, so this should break in a couple of places. Ah, fantastic. So we frames in flight, and where are we here? We're looking for the red underscore. Red. Here we are. In fact, I'm gonna take this. So frames in flight to choose a lot more. Okay. Oh, I call it frame in flight. I always do that. I've got this like bad habit of always using a not using the S, so right, put that there. And we should be good. Now I need to fix the other one that I called it frame, and then go back to our thingy. You can make host access allow transfer instead of staging buffer. Or host access sequential write. That is a good idea if you have a buffer that's going to be updated every frame. If you're going to update it constantly, yeah, because if you had a staging buffer and you had to make a staging buffer and then transfer it over, it's really slow. To set up a buffer and delete it. So I use host access sequence write all the time. What if you create such a complex game engine that people can create a game with working website mechanism based on it? Oh no. I guess I in that case I've become a web developer by proxy, and I have to give up my game development card. Hand it in. You made a website once. Hand it in, even if it's a new game engine. Yeah. Yeah, what a disaster. Right, okay, so we should have a, because I call it frame in flight instead of frames in flight, so let's correct that. Okay, so that should be it. Yep, my bad, that was my Windows noise, not you. Alright. Oh, the music stopped again. Flippin' heck. I'm so locked in, I can't. I'm not paying attention. So random, let's click the, oops. Let's click this. And what the heck? Sorry, I've the YouTube playlists always mess with me about. If you're a viewer of the stream, you'll find a lot that I may struggle with the YouTube playlist. It seems to not want to play like 80% of the time. Yeah, what's a web dev? Always a web dev, indeed. Gotta keep my soul pure and never pursue that. Okay, so the other thing I need to get rid of is this, because this doesn't do anything. Good job, I actually found that error, which is nice. Rebuild. And we should have no errors at all. We just now have a variable that we can access for frames in flight. And that should be the basics done. Right, okay, so we delete a let's close. Yep. Oh, interesting. We have a validation error. That's new. And it didn't assert? Interesting. Let's go into my assert code. Just make sure when we've got a validation error on close. The YouTube problem is only a U problem. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't understand. It just, you've seen multiple times like the music randomly stop, all that kind of crazy annoying stuff. But whatever. Okay, so that should, is that a warning actually? Because it doesn't break on warnings, but it did. I thought it said error. Oh, hang on. Did I not? I might have. Hang on. It's not capital letters. Shut down. I might not have deleted the. I might have commented out. Yeah. Okay. So, right. I forgot to free the allocator, the VMA allocator specifically. All right. That might clean up that bug. Yeah. Okay. So that was it. That was just me forgetting. And we are cool on close. Okay. Do. Right. So let's next part is now we're caught up. Press delete. And for some reason this deletes everything correctly, so I'm just gonna make sure I'm not designing my code around the fact that I'm that was it. Okay, so we can delete things completely fine that in a buffer that's going to be updated every single frame. And what I need to work out now is how to delete more than one. So I can delete an entity that has... we don't delete the textures yet when the entities get removed completely, which is an issue we'll get to later. But at the moment, we're trying to delete more than one entity at a time. So yeah, that's the task. I think I'm doing an element 2. Yeah, so I need to also make sure that everything I'm doing makes sense and all that kind of stuff. So we'll keep attacking. So have you seen the 2-hour C++ rant video someone made, lol? Is it everything wrong with C++? I think I know the one you're talking about. I'll just Google it. YouTube it. Everything wrong with C++, right? This guy? The worst programming language of all time. Yeah. Yeah, I did actually sit through all this. I sat through... Coding Jesus has a video. This is how I found it. Just a side tangent here. Coding... C++ is the best or something. So he made a response video with this. And not everything Okay, so it is interesting to watch this video because there is criticisms in this video that aren't necessarily true. In some of the things are pretty exaggerated, but that being said, I'm not a diehard C++ lover, so a lot of stuff in that video was relevant, and there's a lot of things that I don't do in C++ that like I don't use templates very much. I avoid the standard template library if I can avoid it, if I can. There's a lot of things that I try not to use in C++ because of like how awkward and bloated it's gotten when it comes to its like feature set. So yeah, there's like stuff I agree with in that video and stuff I don't agree with, but for the most part I kind of agree with everything he said. I'm not, like I said, I'm not like a super diehard C++. As long as I can use a language that writes the code that it needs to, then, you know, whatever. And I'm more of a C-like C++ programmer. Anyway. Rick's catchphrase from Rick and Morty when he suffers wubba-lubba-dub-dub. Your catchphrase? Web dev. Yeah, exactly. Web dev, no web dev. Very good. Half of it is because a bad programmer doesn't know the features. Yeah, you could say some of the like I said, some of the criticisms I agree with are kind of over exaggerated. Like you don't need to use and I like the fact that this isn't a memory safe language. That's one of the things I really like about C++. I dislike memory safe languages a lot. They're kind of annoying because sometimes you just want to cast a, for example, let's just say, I don't know, take global model, right? Sometimes I just want to do this. Now, I know there is now a feature in C++. Like, technically, that's undefined behavior. But I don't care. I want to be able to do that. Now, there is something called bitcast, which does that for you now, but, you know, I like the fact that I can do that type of stuff in this language. Right, so let's get back to it. So we want to jump over the elements, and I will reach out momentarily. So what we're trying to do at the moment is we're trying to delete all the docs, right? So the problem we're having right now is the fact that things are getting deleted incorrectly in the wrong order. So if I press delete, then I add 2 to the next thing to be deleted, which should be this doc here, and we get the doc still exists. The debug geometry gets deleted. The doc still exists. However, this doc gets deleted. So we are deleting stuff from the array, but we're obviously deleting the wrong things, and it's kind of tricky to get this right because of delete swap stuff and things like that. 8% of the problem is C++ templates. Yeah, like sFNA. No, thank you. Yeah, I don't like sFNA and things like that. I saw someone recently made a Vulkan tutorial on my recommendation as well. I thought it was you for a second. Yo. You never know in the future. You never know. Using Electron is handling... Using Electron is like handling over all your problems to the user. Yeah, Electron is like super heavyweight when it comes to editor. Are you talking about like that web dev type data? It's like an application, as far as I know, that allows you to build text editors that connects, but it's like built on JavaScript and all sorts of stuff. I know it like I think lots of text editors are built on top of it, and inherently it's inherently a slow program just because of the way, just in the fact that the way it's built, as far as I know anyway. I've heard people moan about Electron, but if that's not what you mean, forgive me. Okay, so why does that happen when we delete an entity? So okay, so let's try and figure this out. So why do we do this twice? That's interesting. Oh, instance count and model index. Oh, I see. Okay, so this is me trying to balance the erased entities so we don't end up deleting the last thing, which is fine. Just a quick question: are you updating both buffers with 2 pipelines that are reading from? Are you updating both buffers that the 2 pipelines are reading from? The ones we've been messing with, yes, they are. One buffer is for one pipeline, another buffer is for another pipeline, so they are being updated for each individual pipeline, but they're not used necessarily. So rigid body index stuff is for the debug renderer, and entity index is typically just for the regular stuff. Oh, okay, I thought manually moving around electrons on a PCB. Oh yeah, that's it's more web dev-y stuff, that Electron stuff. So, and even I'm unfamiliar with it, so I don't really know exactly. Okay, so we do this deletion. I get what this is doing. So, we delete an entity from the list, which is ordered. Okay, so let's open up my test project again because I want to make sure this is correct. Yeah, it's a GUI framework. Yeah, that's exactly it. So we were talking about the same things. So I'm just going to write again a really quick program just to check if delete swap is working. All right, so we want a screw it. Let's just use a C array, I guess. We need 5 elements here, and we're just gonna do 3, 4, 5. Hang on. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And I'm also just going to make a quick const expr size. Oh, yeah, size 2. Screw it. We'll make it 64-bit. We'll just set this to 5 just to make sure just to make this a bit easier to mess with. So we should see it very least. Okay, cool. And next thing I want to do is when I delete an entity from this list, okay, so this is a stack array. So I'm going to say when we hang on, how do I do? I'm going to have to do this with something else. I can't do it with a stack array. Never mind. I'm going to have to do it with standard vector. Because I don't have my array class here, which isn't ideal. But I think we can do that. Check dot size. Java has JavaFX and Python has Tinker, JavaScript as well. The whole web dev does what C++, C and C++ have. That's universal. Java has... What does C++... Oh, okay, so what does C++ have that's universal? For that type of work where you want to make an application. So, when it comes to C++, you typically not want to make a web application. If you want a free GUI library that's really heavyweight, and it does a lot for you, there's Qt. So Qt. Just check your license though. The license for this is a bit different depending on what you want to do. But yeah, I've used this at my company when I worked there. There's probably other ones out there, but this is it's really targeting mobile at the moment, but anyway. Back when we were trying to move to it, but it has really good documentation if you actually do want to use it. And it has good examples. So if I go to the Qt documentation page, so but you have to like learn how to code in Qt, right? Qt is really big, like it's massive. There's a lot you have to like. Some people just have a job as a Qt developer, like making like application stuff. So, but that's the closest to some kind of like Java FX type deal. But it's not. You can make like small applications very quickly, but it can get complicated. That's all I'm gonna say. It can get complicated. Trust me, I know. We had to use it. Anyway, so I am saying when I delete an element from an array, I go, okay. What do? I say I think I'm gonna have to take my code and throw it into here. I heard the signal stuff in Qt is quite confusing. Yeah, it's a design pattern that you're gonna have to learn if you use Qt. It's not too bad. You have a slot that runs the code, and then the signal triggers the code. So you set up that connection between the signal and the slot, and the signal is the event. So if I click a button, then a signal gets fired. That connection is already pre-built, so the connection and the slot are together. So then the slot in the event queue, you'll signal, and then it'll go into the event queue, and then it'll find the slot that corresponds to that signal, which is just a function, by the way, and it'll run that function. So that's how it works in theory. But it is a bit weird. Like, you have to set things up and... oh, the song is so good. Like, you have to do a connect ahead of time. I need to play this game, dude. It's... the music is too good. For small apps, it's easier to use Clay or Micro GUI or... for GUI. Thank you. Check those things out. I'm not as familiar with that. The only things I'm familiar with are IMGUI, which is like a hardware accelerated GUI application thing for like game engines. But I don't think that's what you mean. You mean like you were talking about like a heavyweight UI library that does a lot. Yeah. So thank you, Map, and also thank you for joining us as well. Anyway, so yeah, I wouldn't know. So yeah, feel free to fill in Reservoir. Yeah, okay. Alright, let's get back into this, dude. I feel like I've been a bit sidetracked there. So what do I want to try? I want to make sure that... You know what I can do, actually? I can... Instead of doing what I was trying to do, let's list the entity. What I'm going to do is just... Oops. Get in there. Okay. So... Delete this. I'm going to add a variable that counts from counter, right? Every time we create a new entity, it's going to increment by 1. How do I do this? Does it need to be I think it needs to be static. And each time we construct a new entity, whoops. Again, I'll delete all this. We increment that value by 1. Whoa, dude. Stop trying to be helpful, and we'll all be happier. Oh, what am I doing? I'm not enough flipping. Counter. Jeez. Alright. So that should be good. We should be having a value that gets printed for each instance. No, that's gonna be it's gonna be the same across all the instances. How do I do this? Let me think. A non-static one? No, because that would just be 0. Maybe a static S counter here. Oh, hang on. I thought this would be easy, so this should. If this is a bit complicated, then I'm just gonna leave it. Let's start with 0. Then I increment this by 1. And then I set counter equal to S counter. As far as I can tell, that's fine. We have global state here, but I just want to print out the values. So I think when we... So let's print out the values. Let's just grab this, put that there, set this to 0. Not heavy, but like a lightweight framework. Is that what you're after? Like I said, I'm only familiar with Qt really. That's going to be the one that's up to date. Obviously, you can use the Win32 API if you want to be a crazy person, or the Unix libraries or whatever for GUI directly. That is an option if you are interested. It technically is that's all what the UI libraries are doing, by the way. They're just like calling these operating system specific API calls. IMGUI is fantastic for anything game engine development. It's honestly like the gold standard. Like game companies use it, like Naughty Dog and all that kind of stuff. So it's fantastic for like debug tools because it's harder accelerated and it's like in a separate. I think it doesn't slow you down. Like Qt would be like massively slow. It would make everything super slow. Because you would have to build a Qt application and then have your game engine run inside it. That's how it works. Whereas IMGUI kind of just slots in. What version of VS is this? 2026. So I don't know actually. It's the version and then the year are different. So yeah, I'm on version 18, 2026. Yeah, they skipped some weird numbers back in the day. I don't know what they were doing. Anyway, vprint value equals scene.entities I counter, right? So let's just see if this works. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so 2022 is 17. Yeah, we're on 18. Oh, it's static. I didn't mean to do that. Yeah, they skipped a number back in the day. Okay, so we're getting repeating music. Again, for the people who are tuning in, I'm the only one on this planet that seems to have a problem with YouTube playlists, where it just starts looping the same 3 songs over and over again. But so let's get that fixed. I don't know why that happens. It's like a bit of a trope on the stream. Anyway, okay. Well, it's compiling. Okay, right. Right, so what I'm going to do is just remove all this for a minute. I just don't want to delete anything. Maybe, you know what I'm going to do actually. Let's make a new key press for this. Put this here. So we don't end up getting these mixed up. Because it's going to be kind of awkward. So I'll do key press 1 out of 9. Alright. So we should see that printing to the screen. Yeah, I don't know what, I think they skipped like 13 for some reason because of unlucky numbers or something. Yeah, Microsoft skipped one for some random reason that I can't quite remember. So if I press 9. Excuse me. Entity should be okay. Have I read the logic backwards? I get so what? Oh no. No, it should be there. It should be printing. Yeah, no, if that is less than... What? If I is less than the size, which is 10, which is true, do the thing and then add 1 to... Yeah, so I just go by the year when it comes to Visual Studios. Like, whatever the year is. Alright. I'm clearly a hack because I can't write a for loop. What are you... Alright, I'm just going to write it again just so my muscle memory takes over and I'm not going to worry about the thing. Yeah, that's where we're around. Alright, so I'm going to put 10 in. Yeah, that's my muscle memory. I is less than... I start at 0. What the hell? Clearly don't know anything about C++. Okay. Because we... If I is greater than 10? Yeah, of course. That's not working either. Ah, for goodness sake. Oh, I need to do a new line. That might have been it. Where I just couldn't see it, maybe? Oh, you know what I've done? Okay. Okay, that will explain it. I turned off printing. And so it was being optimized out. Because it was doing nothing. That's gonna do it. I have a similar issue with Spotify where it keeps recommending me the same set of songs. Oh, really? Over and over again. And recommends me songs that does not match my vibe or feeling from the previous song at all. Oh, really interesting. So I was honestly thinking like, oh, maybe I should try Spotify. Because maybe the... Well, if it also doesn't work very good, then... Okay, cool. And what were the values? Nothing. So I also need to put the size back in. Oh, get rid of that. And put the S back. Yeah, nice work. Thanks. Now we've actually got things being able to print. Whoops, I'm pressing the full screen button. 9. Okay, so we're not actually getting any values that we care about, which is unfortunate. Now we got to check. Oops, not array. We want to go into our... Oh yeah, YouTube Music has its thing. I forgot about that. Yeah, there are different solutions. I just think it's a playlist. YouTube is a multi-billion, I assume, corporation under Google. It should be able to handle going from one thing to another without dying and repeating the same 3 songs over and over again. But I guess we can't assume much from these corporations. Okay, so what I want to do is go to my entity code and check this is... So it's going to say uninitialized data, which I don't care about. And... Right, okay, so that never gets constructed, which makes sense why things aren't working. Interesting. So when I actually create an entity, I think what I'm doing is a implicit, what is it called? It's when I build the scene. It's just the way I'm building the entity doesn't quite work at the moment. Right, yeah, okay. So what I'm doing is I'm just allocating a big lump of memory and then kind of... Okay, so what I can do then is quite easy. Okay, so I actually don't need any of this, what I did earlier. But it still is important. The same idea is going to work, we just need to do it differently. Go to scene. And... You know what? You are right. I think I missed it. I think I did it. I might have done a Control S. I did. Okay, thank you. That was a big L for me there. Thank you. May I ask why use C++? I'm curious. Just because it's a general purpose language. Okay, so that makes sense. Okay, so we're not getting initialized data. That's still not happening. But yes, thank you for that. That would have been an issue. Message redacted twice. Don't know why that happened. 7-hour stream today. Yeah, it's going to be a long one. Well, longer anyway. I do want to stream because I didn't stream for 2 days in a row. So I was like, nah. So what we're going to do then is we're going to take entities and we're just going to very simply take the current entities equals itself. And because it's going to be separate from everything, it's going to be fine. We're going to count our entities very nicely. Yes, minor typos aside, this is what we need to do for our system so we can see what's being deleted when I check. Right, okay, so let's think. I've kind of forgotten what I was doing. Where's our entity struct live? Yeah, so go rid of this. Whoops. So this never worked because I'm not ever using the constructor. Okay, so but we are, because we allocate things differently. We allocate, oh, what is it? We reserve the memory, but we don't initialize the memory when we actually use it. So we actually have to initialize it. Okay, so we should see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 0, 1 through to 8, 0 through 8. Let's make sure we're actually clicking on the right thing. Okay, go 0 to 9 because we have 10 thingies. When I delete an entity from the scene, which is the first doc in the list, we can print again, and it will say we should make a little break, I think. But that worked. That's exactly what I wanted to see. Fantastic. Okay, so this is just again for debugging. Right, so throw this in here. Maybe in next project equals we create a new tube. Yeah, there we go. I guess it should be control. Yes, control D. Yes, you were completely spot on. So listing entities. So we just need to like have a break so we can see, so we don't get confused. And okay, so now we can debug this a little easier. All right, all this code to. Let me delete this guy, which is what we're standing on, and let me list them again. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's great. Now I'm going to delete a middle entity. So let's say I'm still going to delete a duck. Let's go with elements, which is up here. 2, just the first one. I just want to check how our deletion code is working in our custom array structure. This is why we're doing this. So we should be deleting this fella here. Because obviously 0, 1, 2, right? But we'll zoom out. This is also why it's all in order and we have this color coding thing going on for the people who are new. So we can see what's being deleted. This scene looks a lot nicer when it's got lighting and it's when it's not in order like this, but we're in debug mode at the moment. So we're going to delete that guy and then we're going to list the entities out. So we have 0, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's not what I want. I think that's maybe... So I'm glad I did. I'm glad I had that coding, because that's... Oh, we also need to decrement counter, so that's just part of it. Because these aren't necessarily the same thing. So that's why I had a separate variable. Okay, so delete this, and then we print. Oh yeah, so we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay, fantastic. Now the problem is for me if I then. So I'm just going to add 1 to our deleted. So element is something that we're actually accessing and trying to delete. And so we should be deleting the rock right next to it once we press 0 again. Again, just for debugging reasons. We're just adding a bunch of code to test this. So we're going to delete this rock, duck. Then I'm going to print out the entities. And then I'm going to try and delete this next thing in the list, which should be the rock. Okay, so it deleted this. It didn't delete the rock. So the collision geometry around here did actually get deleted. And so when I list the entities again, what do we actually see? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I think what I can do now is start. Right, okay, so we have a data structure, right, that has a duck equal to 0, rock equals 1. I'm just going to duplicate this a bit. Yeah, let me know if the music's a bit loud. I feel it's a bit loud on my end, but I will carry on. I can always adjust things based on the audience. So 6. Uh-oh. 7. I said it. Okay, so we have duck. When I delete an entity from the list, so I delete. Let's just say I delete this duck, right? Then okay, so let's do step 1. This is, well, step 0, I guess. And then I'm going to duplicate this. We delete duck like this. Then, because I think I know if I can just step through this code like really slowly, then what I do is I decrement everything. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Step 2. So when I access, so we have 2 rocks next to each other. When I access duck, my concern is when I take element, let's just say access equals, I want to get the next duck in the sequence, which is, so we move this down. So what we do is we then increment 2 to 3 when we delete something, and for some reason that means we get this duck here gets deleted. So it's not even like, I assume we would be, okay, we were on 2, then we deleted number 3. Let's display the entity indices. Okay, so I'm going to change my counter to this and then say entity indices. Entity indices. Alright. Telepathy. It's a great name. Okay, so we delete element, then we print. Okay, so this is interesting. So we have, So these index into, so we have 1 1 2 2 3 3, but we have 3 zeros. Let's do that again, but print immediately rather than, so we have something to compare against. Interesting. So you have 0 0, so that's for this guy here that we're looking at. 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4 5 5. That's just up to 4. Then I delete something. Which is this, and then we get this weird situation where one one two two 3 3 are correct, but we get 3 zeros, right? We should have this is a bit confusing to me, so let's look at this. Just gonna think for a minute. So for those who are wondering what I'm talking about with this 1 1 double things, so the entity is going to be it's going to list the duck and then the collision geometry that corresponds to that duck with the same value, and then the rock and the collision geometry that corresponds with that. That's why there's 2. The problem is here we have we're supposed to have deleted, in this case, this guy here, the 2 2, which is visually 0 0 1 1 2 2, right? And then afterwards we decrement everything afterwards. So for example, there is no such thing as 4 4 anymore because there's like one less thing in the array. So we need to now go to 3. This is why this has gone to 3 3 2 2. So it's actually 2 2 has been replaced. And I'm trying to think, does that make sense? Why do we have, the thing is I don't understand is, why do we have this, like, why do we have a second, an extra 0? Because what should have happened is 1 and 1 and 0 and 0 should have been left alone. So it should have deleted these 2 and then decremented them by 1. But for some reason we're getting this point where we decrement these. This is, oops, we decrement everything. We decrement everything, right? Here, as far as I can tell, I think our decrementing is not making any sense. I think that's what's happening. So I'd say the element at entity 0. I think maybe this needs to be +1. We'll try again. Yeah, I'm going to turn this down just a touch. Okay. And we have a calls. No, what? Ah, I was wondering what's going on. My mouse double clicks by accident. It sometimes pauses this by clicking on it. Okay, so we have, let's print our entities again. And then we delete. Then we print our entities again. Interesting. So what would happen now if I deleted the rock now? Yeah, and then we print. Yeah, so we just got like multiple. Yeah, this isn't making any sense. Now we have 2 of the same, which is confusing. Let's see. Let's print out. What am I printing out? Let's just check that as well. So I'm printing out the entity indices. I only want to be dealing with this array because this indexes into these arrays. So we need the Okay, so let's see the What I'm going to do then is this, and just see how this code deletes things. Very simple. Copy things over. Okay, so we need to make sure that we're on -1, I believe. And so you don't overrun the data, which is, I think, what's happening actually. We're overrunning data. And we're going to have one less size anyway. So no, I think what we got wrong was that one. Yeah, okay. Let's try again. Yeah, this is a trickier. We've got to be careful here because I'm glad we're printing out stuff because this is actually making clear why things are going wrong. Again, double click for some reason. So we delete this guy. Then we print. I should have printed before. Anyway. Oh, hang on. Did I change something here? Yeah, I did. Okay, hang on. Let's put this back. Yeah, that wouldn't have errored out, by the way, because we just have a flat array that's allocated into some, like, arbitrary, what is it called? Memory pool. So we have a big memory pool of data, and we can actually accidentally read further on, because the memory will exist. So it's not going to page fault or anything like that. Or we'll have, like, a pointer that points to something that's silly. We will have actual data that's just uninitialized data, but it will be there and reserved for us to use. So this is a trickier problem to solve because of that. So yeah, that's well behaved. And then we delete. And then we print. Okay, so we still get the same problem. I feel like as soon as we... Okay, so we haven't solved the problem, but we aren't now moving into uninitialized memory. That isn't ours anyway, so which is good. What I think I need to do is, so everything's duck, rock. So let's interleave a second variable. Let's just say current entity is equal to how do we do this? Guys, do you mind if I just grab a drink? I won't be too long. It's just my mouth's getting very dry. So I'm just going to be... Let me get up Notepad. Be right back. Getting a drink. This is just for anyone who might tune in. Just gonna get a drink. I'm just literally around the corner. I literally code in the kitchen, so I'll be right back. I'll tell you what's good about the days so far is that everything's cooled down, which is lovely. Okay. So, okay. So what I need to do is yeah, I just realized something earlier, right? So the arrays that we have are effectively arbitrarily sized. These contain all the entities that exist in the game engine. But the reason that we have 0, 0 and all that kind of stuff is we're only deleting the docs. And the problem is, I think, as far as I can tell, is we remove everything, right? So there's only 5 docs, but we're also like decrementing the rocks as well. I think, as far as I can tell. So that's the problem. Yeah, so this is unreliable. What I need to do is go into... So these can't just be a straight raw index because there's a second layer of indirection here. And the second layer of indirection, you can see it, is the fact that we have like a enum that dives then later into the indices, into the actual array, and then we do a delete swap on it. We're still just assuming that we need to decrement everything. So let's just say we have like 4,000 entities. I delete 1. The only index that needs to be changed is the one that belongs to that fourth, one of that groups, one of those categories, rather than all of them. So what I think I need to do to fix this is I need groups of entity indices that are different. So we, I think, need to do like do we have access to it here? I wonder. No. Okay, so let's move this up. So this is important. So we need this here. So for each group, we need to have a different index value. That could be, we could have, for example, a... Okay, it's unfortunate we can't do this now. Now, sphere is not going to change at all. But let's just say we create a dock. And we set it to index 0. We then also need to be like, okay, for the rock index, that can be index 0 too, but we can't have a duplicate of index. Yeah, let me, so now we need to go into the scene and figure out how we do this in a way that makes sense. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward, actually. So for each, oops. So for our model index, hang on, that's not how it works. That's not gonna work, is it? That's not how arrays work. Let's see if I can think about a different way of doing things. Because I would need to increment the size of the array each time I add it to the group. Basically, I need a dynamic array. Of indices. I'm just seeing if I can try and figure this out in a different way than doing that. I don't want to do that. Okay, so that, yeah, that's not going to work ever. Let's see. So in debug instance count. Now I'm just going to check if the data isn't already here. So these are the categories. But we need a index per category. And I'm just trying to... I don't think we can avoid it. Alright. Alright. Okay. Yeah, because that's just only going to size it to... So that's going to be like... Okay, so we have an array of 2 and 1. That's not exactly right. So this needs to become an array. Yeah, this is because I decided to add like an extra layer of indirection here. And... I'll show you what I mean. So the extra layer of indirection is this. So we have categories of arrays. Categories of... So the first array is the category, and the second array is the actual data for that buffer. So for example, category duck, and then we have all the data for the ducks, right? In that array. Now, to index into the actual things that we need, we also need to have like a category and then the index that indexes into this. Okay, so that's why we need arrays, and it needs to be runtime. Because we don't know exactly how many entities we're going to load. I mean, I do, but for debugging purposes, we can make this a runtime array. So this is literally just push a value in, and that will grow with every use. Very simple. I think if I get this right, we probably will crack this on the stream, which will be nice. So push. Now this is just an array. Hang on. We might have to use a hash map here, actually. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to use the hash map. There's no way out of this without that. The problem is with just a flat array, it's difficult to figure out exactly what belongs to what. Like we'd have to create. So let's just think about this. So if I have an array and I'm not gonna use a hash map. What I could do is maybe instead of this might be simpler. I have arrays of arrays when it comes to entities themselves. So that is the category around the entity itself. Yeah, I think that's gonna help. Let's try that. Okay, so oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's put that back. So I'm just gonna do an equals. Yeah, so this is always just going to be model index for the first thing. So you can fix this quite easily. Like this and like that. Everything else is fine. Then we have a category of entities that we can delete, which I like. I like this solution a bit better. Because we need a meta for loop, and then we need an inner for loop. So for like this size. And obviously we won't use I twice. So for all the categories, delete. For the giterator. Okay. Next is... Oh, yeah. So for category I, delete J. Okay. Very nice. Next is the initialization, I think. Oh, no. Model index. Right. Do 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 do. No, do, no, 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 no. Okay, next is to initialize this. So that, Tell you what I didn't get. Yep. So I just need to delete... So I just need to initialize the array of arrays now. So how many categories do we have? We need... That seems silly, but we need to count up the counts for both, I think. For the debug geometry... So it's not just model count. I think it's also... I wonder if you could do... I've actually never done this. Debug, models... Can you do that? Plus I, so that's all the categories. So that's actually how many we need to initialize. When it comes to our entity categories. And then we just need to initialize each entity category with the total number of... That's a bit overkill, to be honest. The problem is I don't know how many... yes, I do. I mean, at compile time, I'm the programmer, right? That means I have control over what ends up happening. Meaning that I could set these sizes pretty hard, you know, based on the category. So, for example, we could have 4,444 rocks, right? Yeah, I'm just going to put the allocator in. And like 1 duck. Let's just index into that. And remove this, right? The problem is, instead of, this is tricky. Is it worth doing a for loop? Right, what I'm going to do then is, for now, I don't know how easy this is going to be to maintain, but I'm not going to use a for loop. I'm just going to initialize these one at a time. So, models. This specifies the order which they're created. S. So, duck. Duplicate, duplicate. So this is the rock. And then we need the debug sphere for sphere. Okay. And so this is going to be total number of entities for now, which is fine. And we want 3 ducks. And we want -3. Oh no, wait. Sorry. Total number of entities is 10. My bad. I think we can just do simple integer division for this particular setup. Half of 10 is 5. And that's also true for this. This obviously... Maybe we need a... Yeah, I don't think this is going to work, so... Ducks for now, and total rocks. So... I've got to make this so it's like easier to debug in the future. Because if I do that and it's an uneven number, then... Oops. I'll come up with a better system in the future once this all kind of works. But I need to have like a place where I can start debugging. Okay, so we have that. Okay, that's set up. That's set up nicely with the categories. Then yeah, total number of entities, that splits things up. So then the entity index comes in and sets everything nicely. Right, okay, so done. That's done. Now we need to figure out... We want to delete a duck at element. Right, so element duck, we delete that guy. And we're deleting that guy as well, because I only want to delete ducks right now. We want to only delete. We only want to decrement the index values for ducks, and we are only interested in listing the ducks. And we're going to list through all the ducks. Yep, so that's the category of entities. Okay, so now it's kind of tricky because we need to figure out... hello! Isn't Windows 10 dead? Yes, unfortunately. It's... Well, it's not dead yet. It's dead in October the 26th, as far as I can remember. But my my graphics card doesn't... my graphics card. My motherboard doesn't support it. High pure gameplay as well. Linux is best. I am on Arch. This game will run on Linux. I am making great effort to make sure that works. It's just I do most of my development on Windows and then go to Linux and then kind of make sure everything's good. But I'm using I'm using Linux Mint, kind of like a basic Debian installation. Okay, so yeah, we need to loop through each category of entity now and list them out. This for loop looks bad, but it's going to be completely the same size of entities that we were looping through to begin with. Probably, I don't know what to call this, so let's call this, let's change this to entity type. Or entity category. Entity category. Alright, entity category. And then entity type. Not entity index of that category. Hello bro, I'm going to college next year. Oh, nice. And I will also be learning game dev. Fantastic. Which university did you get into? I hope it's a good one. It's always nice to see more people coming up in the scene as game devs. Love to hear it. Or is that too? You don't have to answer if you don't want to talk to yourself. But yeah, I'm happy for you. So based on the category index, index category, entity category, whatever, we do everything exactly the same. And yes, we do the same here. Cool. So this is going to be entity category and like this and like this, right? Next is entity index. Name the for loops. And then entity category. So the entity category, then the entity index. Cool. Okay, so entity index. Fantastic. Cool. Okay, so yeah, based on the, we could actually, you don't have to store this anymore, but I will. It's kind of useful. Now I hope, as far as I can tell, that should compile. If it's compiling, I just missed something. Deprecated between enumeration types. Yeah, I've never done that before, so let's see if I can work around this. Like, is there a way to count? Because that might not have actually added anything, so we need to check. It's been deprecated C++. Yeah. How do I get around it? To avoid warning, use the static has to convert the second arc. One of the types. If you just use, okay, so Alright. So yeah, we're using like old style. So let's just convert these to numbers. We don't need big numbers for this because it's not going to have many in. And now we can get around doing that. What else? Oh yeah, so it's just same old, same old. Okay, yeah, so similes aren't being used, that's fine. Because I commented lots of stuff out. Okay, so let's see how that goes. Okay, so an index overflow. In here, what's the value? 1. You should have more than size for 1. Interesting. So I should have allocated enough here. Should be 5 for this, which is number 1. Oh, and oh, it's this guy. Okay, let's do let's just see 3 right now and just see if that goes away. It's kind of annoying, but reserved 3 pieces of memory. It's not that. Let's just see. Do we get the same error at the same place? Last current entity 6. Ah, okay. No, that was fine then. Okay. So we need to. So we only have 5 elements here, and we've gone to 6. That's why it's broken. Because all we're doing is incrementing this value by 1. But we need to increment it by the category. Which is... I think we should be keeping track of it somewhere. I believe... model index, that's 1. Instance count, I think this is it. Yeah, as far as I can tell, this is actually what we need to be setting the values to. And I think we might have to separate this out. Which is kind of annoying. But let's think. See if there's a way around it without trying to separate out into debug and then model. So how is instance count worked out? That's the question. So based on the model index, what I might want to do then is, how do I know the difference between if it's debug or not? Ah, this is so tricky. It's not something I can't solve. Right. Let's just think how to do it in a way that makes sense. Because at the moment, what I don't want to do, what I'm thinking of doing is splitting this up into models and debug models. But that would duplicate a bunch of code, which I'm trying to avoid. Effectively, what we need to make sure is each time we come in here, we increment a category by 1, rather than just a straight index. Which does suggest that based on that, we need to have like this value is terrible as well. Like an incremented value, but the incremented value is an instance count here, which is kind of useful. But yeah, so this is only not working for every time you use this guy. So what I'm going to try then is putting this at the top and accessing this here like this, right? And then we just want to use model index instead everywhere. And you, I think that might work because the instance count is actually how many things we have per category. As far as I could tell, at least. We'll see. Right. Oh. Yeah, my bad. Forgot to do that in the right place. And that's never for anything other than... Okay, so it's got the same thing twice, but alright. I'll worry about that later. Hang on, is that... Yeah, we're gonna have to split this up. That's unfortunate. That sucks. It's because it's gonna make all the values all wrong. We're never gonna set this data up for the debug geometry if it's always using the instance counts of the model. So what do we need to keep then? Alright, so it's not too bad, but it's still rigid body entity. Dang it. Let's see, is there not another way to do this? Actually, maybe there is. Right? No, it's going to be the wrong. Hang on. That works. And I use this in 2 different places. I kind of need to do this twice now, which is kind of awkward. But for the debug one as well. Shape. Ape. Pos. Okay. Nope. Just that, please. Thank you. Yeah, because it's possible the shape here is going to be different. Because they have a different body ID as far as I can tell. Based on a category. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what this is used for. Oh, it's just a position, right. Okay. Right. Arrays with arrays, eh? And we run this, see what happens next. And where are we? Current frame. Entity data. Index. The value is Hmm. Ah, right. Okay, so these values need to be set every single time, no matter what. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's do that again. Hang on. Okay. So debug entity index is equal to gobbledygook. What are you equal to? What entity category are you on? 2 and 1. So this should be the debug geometry. That's why it's not working. We are in we should be down here. Okay. Alright, so let's -1 from this and just kind of roll with it for a minute. In fact, this is easy. This is actually easier. Models, model count, right? We only want to go through the models that we care about. And same for the next part, which is down here. Where is it? So these are the categories. Debug. Unfortunately, that means everything. Okay, so. Okay, it's fine, it's fine. We're gonna have to put the enums together, I think. Like. Yeah. Which is not good, but it's not. It's fine. It's not like a big deal, but yeah, because we need to increment everything so we can keep track of the categories. Yeah, we can't have that. This doesn't exist now. But now we don't know how many. Okay. Now we don't know how many debug geometry categories we have. Okay, let's try that again. There's probably a better way of doing this. Alright. That's wrong anyway. So that'd be 0, 1, 2, right? That would be 0. Which is not how the categories work. Let's think. What was... Got you. Okay. That's just our Discord. Let's try to think. I feel like my brain's starting to melt or something. Okay, so we have categories, but the way I've set up the categories is it's just a number that's increments by 1. Which means the total number of categories is just, despite us using enums, using Catchy OS here. Nice, dude. I've heard really good things about Catchy OS. But no, I'm using Windows. The lamest operating system of them all. But yeah, I've heard it's really good for like gaming. And it's Arch based, which is always the coolest option. But yes, I will have my I am, yes, hard coding model types. So we have we need a model entity categories, right? And I just need to figure out what the hard code, what the So when I go into the debug geometry, for example, like what category are we on? And the way I've decided to do this in the setup code is that each entity category is just incremented by 1. The problem with that is the way I distinguish which category we're on is through these enums, which means that 0, 1, this should be 2, but it's 0. If I merge these enums together, we end up in a situation where I can't tell how many debug geometries there are. Which I don't know if that's actually an issue, but let's just have a look. The reason I'm hard coding entities, by the way, is so is because I know what entities I want in the game. I'm not having some generic systemized thing. Yeah, so for example, we know how many rigid body types there are, so this is actually quite important to have these separated. But the categories here, for example, are just like, you can see like 0, 1, 2, 3, because we add the category types together. Right, what we could do actually, this is actually quite simple. We'll see if this is even possible, but this is my idea. No, this now doesn't work. Because now this will be 4. Oh no, it'll be 3. Let me think. So we'll be incrementing too many things. Alright, let me rethink this again. But that's like not a bad idea. I just load models from a path define. Yeah, effectively. I'm trying to do that, but I want to be able to just like select entity 20 in the list based on a category. So like category duck, get duck 20. I mean, for a level designer, that's not going to be that useful. But in code, that's what I'm trying to go for. I have some work to do, so I'm not following much. No problem. Yeah, that's chill. Anyone's goal in this stream is to have fun, and obviously follow the rules. So if you just want me second monitor contenting muted completely, that's completely fine, right? Your job is to enjoy your time here, and I'm trying to hopefully provide some value while I stream this. And yeah, with that, yeah, feel free to you know, come in and leave whenever you fancy, because sometimes I know some of this stuff is a bit convoluted, or it's not like really that interesting when it comes to graphics if you're really interested in graphics. So yeah, I'm totally chill. Yeah, so these values don't correspond to the actual categories. That's the problem. Alright, so I think I'm stressing too much about this, to be honest. What I could do is literally just... Alright, so I'm going to combine these and trying to figure out a better way to do this. Yeah, let's see if I can figure this out. So, how many debug categories do we have? Now I could just obviously set a number, but I'm trying to automate it a little bit. But I guess it doesn't really matter now, right now. Let's just automate it. Not automate it. So for now, anyway. So let's go total debug geometries. I don't know. Debug. Actually, I've got a better idea. Let's just not worry about it. So we don't know how many models. Alright. So now this is just... Because what I could do is I could just do pushback. I don't have to reserve the memory necessarily. Right, so... Yeah, we can just do a pushback. We don't need to care about this that much. So I could literally do this for this. Now we can't access things like entity data. Let me think. So we don't have the data in here at the moment. Dang it. It's actually really useful. Okay, so this doesn't exist. I'm going to say... Alright, so we'll go back to our original thing, okay. Which was just hard code these values for now. Total debug. Again, not ideal, but... total category debug category total, yeah, debug total. Okay, so now we need model, I guess. If I can spell. Jeez. So there's only one, and now there's two of these guys. Alright. Again, not perfect, but this will at least help us with reserving memory for now. Let's get the other one. Right, so get this done. Get this done. Okay, cool. Fix this. And sphere. No, that doesn't work. Yeah, that doesn't work. You know what's going to work? If I... How do I do this then? What I'm going to do is have a private... Yeah, private enums and public enums. That's going to work. Okay, so models is going to be public. And our private enums, which we use to construct the scene, are going to be in here. And then we can... Yeah, we can separate... Okay, this is going to work now. So... I don't know what to call these though. Debug, obviously debug, model, sorry, enum, debug, model, z. So this is just going to be very simple. In fact, let's make this even better. Instead of just having it here, let's put it in the scene code. And above everything, so it can be used in arguments. Yeah. And we want sphere and count. Okay, and then count. And then, what should I call the other one? Entity models, I guess. Okay, so this is going to work because now we've separated them off. We just got to remember which one's which. And then rock, I guess. It doesn't really matter. So when we create the scene with the categories, we use these, which is fine. When we do the entity data, we need to do it with the other thing. Okay, so we can get rid of this now. Okay, cool. This is working so far. So so entity models count. Yep. All right. So, and then the debug geometry types. Hello. How you doing, dude? AI. I assume that's what you meant. I don't know what to say to that. I'll just say, hope you're having a great day. Okay. Okay. So this works. Then these categories are separate, which is lovely. Okay, fantastic. And we need the entity models here. Oops. Yep. So everything's the same. Fantastic. Cool. This works. Okay, so now we need to be a bit careful. Yes, debug geometry is still the same. So when we are doing the... Okay, so let's think about this. What needs to be the category? So what is this used for here? It's all a trap. This person is AI. Oh, right. Yes, I am GLaDOS's twin brother. Everything's AI nowadays. Okay, so let's think about this. We are close. Model index. What does this need to be? Is this the category or... Alright, so obviously this is getting ridiculous, this function. It's like thousands of arguments. But now I think we need another... Unfortunately, we need another model index. We need the category. So this is model index will be this now. So that's what it's telling me. Model index, right? And now we need... Okay. Are these the same though? That's the question. No. Okay. Yeah, okay. So we just need the category now. So that's the model index, which is fine. Then we need the... I'm going to rewrite all this, I promise. So models... category. I think I'm going to rename that to category, like entity categories. Oops, didn't take everything. Okay. Okay. So now we need to pass in the category. Okay, so this is the category. Category. And this comes in here. And the model index is the same. Entity model. Okay, so model index is equal to this. Right. I just call it count, I guess. Oh, I can't. Yeah, there's a reason I couldn't call it count. Yeah, it needs to be. You can't do that. That's not allowed in C++. Unless it's a class enum type, but that's like annoying because it's hard to convert. And I call this model count. Okay, so I've got to be careful here. That could be a category versus... No, it's not. Okay, so... Perfect. This is fine. Yep, so there's no collision now. Yeah, so... Right. Maybe the real AI was the friends we made along the way. No, my friends are real. Yes, everyone is AI. We're all in the... It's just a fever pitch. All we are is a bad nightmare for an AI machine, an AI simulation. It's going to wake up one day and go, well, that was a weird dream. And we're all going to just stop existing. Okay, so I've got to rename this. This is because this is a category. Entity category, yeah. Entity category. So that because it's different. And if I just call it model, it's very confusing. Okay. That's what category they are, yes. And okay, so at least that's less crap. And this is now debug. And I'm going to change this to category count. Category count, because that's what it means. Category. It's not used by category, is it? I just about category. I feel like I've just. I thought it's got like a. Yeah, I feel like I'm missing an R. Yeah, I am. Okay. Yeah, my bad. Brain fart moment right there. Seeing it capitalized was kind of like, wait, there's an R here. Okay, let's try again. Dyslexic exception just got triggered. Cool. Okay, so this is the entity models. Right. Okay, so I do want to call it model count. That's actually better. So rather than just count. Where would we be without enums, eh? Okay, nice. That's going to come up, but we're also going to break some other things, which is totally chill. Entity category. Yep, R. Oh, and yes, this needs to be changed too. Let's just do a control. Okay, so model count. I'll just do this myself. Cool. Right. Fantastic. Okay, cool. Final thing is when we're shutting down the models for entity data. Yeah, this just needs to be entity models. Okay, so now we need to be... Okay, so now we can go back to what we were doing. We need to go into here and be very careful. Based on the category. That is what we care about. That's the model type itself, yes. So every time we see this, we need to change this to category. So let's see... Okay. Category. Oh, sorry. Okay, so now everything's like coming together. We can now just do this. Doesn't really matter because we're using it based on the category. Okay, cool. Fantastic. Yeah, we still need this instance count thing. I'll come back to that. Okay, so this is still not quite right, but everything else about here is good, as far as I can tell. Yeah. So this is the model instance for the entity type. So we need to figure out what type of, is it a debug category or oh yeah, music stopped. Let's go to a different one. Nice. What's up? Hi, Jackie Jen. Yeah, not bad. Glad you can join us. Yeah, I'm chilling. What's up with you, dude? What's up, dog? Just remind myself of that joke. So I think so based on the category, we need to have an instance count variable. As far as I can tell is like this. We actually might need this. Yeah, because this is now going to be the instance count. Let's just call it counter for now. Because what this is going to do, I might keep this around. This is going to be able to give us what, based on the category, what we're up to, which is nice. And that was based on a model index value, which is found in this. Not quite. So we have the categories, but how do we keep track of the elements within the categories? While you're mentioning AI, it's kind of ironic that there's a comment saying delete this, but it didn't, but ended up being useful. Yeah. It's going to be useful. We're just still quite not. I don't know what to push to the data. Yeah, because this counter is going to be, it's going to track how many times we've done this per category, I think. Or no, that's not going to work. Okay. Yeah, this is all pre-recorded and it's all AI. Yeah, this is I'm just all you're talking to right now is an AI bot, and I've just pre-recorded the coding. Can you imagine? I mean, isn't the biggest VTuber on Twitch an AI bot that everyone chalks to. I don't know. I actually don't know what the most subscribed VTuber. But I swear that is legit the case. No, I can do Vulkan. But yeah, pretty much. Even if they get better, well, I've tested them recently and they're still making mistakes. Pretty much immediately. And that's with C++ and C. But it is what it is. Right, so I'm staring at this code because I just want to figure out how to yeah, so what we need to do is effectively track how many times we've used an entity in this function. Sorry, a category in this function. That's what we need to track. Now we have arrays of arrays here. But so there's no way of me going like that. That doesn't work, sadly. I'm trying to think of a way to fix this. What is about yeah, oh sorry, there is a pretty major lack of training data for Vulkan, since it's not really meant for beginners, less so beginner tutorials. Yeah, it's pretty much. I do reference counting in my models. What is it about destroying entities, by the way? So I'm trying to figure out how to do an array-based data structure where I delete entities and add entities and be able to remove entities based on if they've been loaded into a thing. Then I need to worry about the buffers and stuff. But so right now what I'm trying to do is build up a category list of the total number of entities that we have, which is going quite well. But I also need to count how many times that we've made a entity based on that category. And if I can do that, then everything's golden. So Ratchet calls entities actors, which is just another way of calling the same thing. So I do reference counting for my models, and actor can reference a model and release the reference when it dies. If nothing references a model, it gets deleted. That's pretty smart. Yeah, straight up. Time's a bit late. So, do I want to? Should I keep streaming? Is the question. Or no? I think I'm gonna have to go to the gym in a minute. Otherwise, I'll just rot away and become a stick figure. So yeah, I'm gonna share my Discord server with everyone. Let's share you the rules because all of you break them now. So if you do want to join, there you go. There's a fresh invite link in the chat. This will expire in 7 days. So yeah, I just want to quickly go out and just say thank you all for joining us here, and I hope you've all enjoyed my insanity when it comes to deleting things. We will come back and attack this a different day. I'll work on this off stream, obviously. And I very much appreciate the talk we had earlier. Fantastic. You know, you guys were awesome. And anyone who liked and subscribed and commented and stuff on the live stream, big ups to you guys as well. Thank you for all that. So yeah, I will. I know, unfortunately, Jackie Jen, I will stream a different day, and you'll be able to catch this. But yeah, I need to be able to go out. So I will see you all soon. Thank you all again. And yeah, have a good rest of the day, guys. Whatever you're up